welcome back. You're still watching Business Incorporated on Channels Television. Now, let's talk about maize. It is the second most cultivated crop in Nigeria in terms of area harvested. In 2020, maize production was 10,000 tons, growing at an average annual rate of 7.29%. Yet, production has not yet met the demand in the country. Well, the Nigerian Central Bank has released 50,000 metric tons from the strategic grain reserve to reduce the pressure on domestic price of maize and on forex availability. Also, the price of corn in Nigeria has increased by 33.3%. It's now about 18,000 naira per bag from 13,500 naira last year. Well, to help us understand this scenario, we have Mr. Bismarck Rewane, the Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, and he shares his thoughts with us on this. Good afternoon, Mr. Rewane. Thank you so much for sharing your holiday with us.
Good afternoon. I'm back at the start.
Same to you too. So would you say that this release of from the strategic grain reserve is a prudent move, given that maize is a critical raw material for producing a lot of things, ethanol, breakfast cereals, and so many things?
Yes, it's a prudent move, but the impact is going to be very limited. Like you opened up and said that actual production of maize in Nigeria is about almost anything between 7 and 10 million tons a year. Now, maize in its context, you have to understand that globally, 60% of maize is used for live feed production. 2, livestock feed production. 2, is used for industrial processing, and 3, for human consumption, 10% only for human consumption. In Nigeria, it's the other way around. Over 60% of the maize produced is actually for human consumption. About 20% is used for industrial processing. And then the balance of 20% is used for actually live industrial processing. Now, what you see today is that the maize farmers, Nigeria's production of 10 million tons is broken down into these 3 segments. But also important to note is that it's also being used by smugglers because of their exchange rate sensitive. So part of the maize that we produce goes out of the country. Now, 50,000 tons is nothing compared to 10 million tons. Therefore, the central bank is releasing this, but the central bank also released some money, allowed for the imports by about 6 or 7 major importers to bring down the pressure on the prices. So whilst global prices actually came down, in Nigeria, the price has gone up by 33%. So that is what you must understand, that maize is so critical today, and there's a shifting of the demand from direct consumption to actual industrial processing. That is what you are seeing in Nigeria, and that shift in demand is bringing pressure to be on those substitutes like guinea corn and sorghum.
Okay, so like you mentioned, the global price has declined by about 0.8%, and the U.S. and increased supply in North America. Do you think that this trend of a slight drop will continue? And what do you think will be the implication for Nigeria, especially the corn farmers?
Well, due to the pandemic globally, we saw the demand for maize drop by about 1%, but now it has gone back up. We are actually expecting that the global demand for maize will go by about almost 2 or 3%. What does this mean? It means that the major users of maize today, Brazil, China, and the United States, are having to use this because of what is happening today is that because of global clean energy pressures, people are being asked to use ethanol in addition to petrol to drive cars. So you have electric vehicles, clean energy initiatives, you have ethanol being used, and ethanol is made mainly from molasses, from maize, and from other products. So what you have today is that the global price of maize is going to increase. The global supply of maize will remain about the same. And then you would see that countries like Nigeria that need maize for critical production of livestock feed, for industrial processing, and for direct consumption will have to supplement local production with some imports. And so what does it mean for us? We have to be looking at critically what to do about our local grain production. South Africa, for example, produces 17 million tons, right? Actually, South Africa produces about 17 or 18 million tons a year. And the bulk of it is made from genetically modified seedlings. Nigeria will have to accept to use the natural seedlings and also to use genetically modified seedlings and also to deal with the question of smuggling when the exchange rate is in equilibrium so that people don't smuggle it out. And that way, we'll see that people like Nestle, who use it for golden morn, the people livestock feed and Nigerian flour mills who use it to make feed compounding. And then there are those who are using it for making ethanol, the sugar companies and the spirit making companies. So when you put all of this together, you'll find that for the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to be seeing shortages in maize, supplemented by some importation and supplemented by an increase in the genetic composition and changing in the production quotient in Nigeria.
So with this expected hike in price that you mentioned, what can manufacturers do as a hedge, to protect them at this time?
Well, not much. You see, manufacturers, some of them are going into backward integration. We have things like the Anchor Borrowers Program and other supply initiatives. So what can we do? First and foremost, we have IIT, the research institutes coming up with new variants. We have improved seedlings and improved use of fertilizer, right? Then we also have the shift in terms of substitutes so that we can use maize, we can use sorghum, we can even use cassava and all the other things to make ethanol rather than using maize directly for ethanol. So to break it down for the ordinary man, you see today, if you drive along the streets of Lagos, Ibadan, Kano, anywhere, by this time of the year, you see people roasting corn with beer and all of that. You don't see them anymore because the demand for the industrial use has actually eaten into the demand for maize. And therefore, maize for direct consumption will actually drop from around almost 40% of total utilization in Nigeria to about 10%, and we'll have to get used to not eating corn for direct consumption anymore. I think that is what's going to happen.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Rewane, for sharing your thoughts with us on the issue with maize in Nigeria, and enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Thank you, and you too.